So I'm all excited. We're in for a treat today. We have the beautiful Reverend Patty Spicer. Reverend Patty, I mean, her bio, we would be here for the whole talk. But she got her bachelor's in education at Stanford. She's a speaker, motivator, artist, and she was my teacher and Dr. Joe's teacher in our practitioner class and also in our ministerial class. She was here with Dr. Tom. I don't know how many practitioners you taught and trained and ministers of this center. She's a very integral part of this center. She was here with Dr. Tom, and she's here with her beautiful family, her daughter and her son and her husband, Larry. They have been in the desert for 38 years. Oh, 48. Oh, wow. Wow. And they were here before. Okay, she's always like this. She just corrects me all the time. No, I'm just teasing her. The teacher in her 48, I was thinking, then you beat me by 1 year. No, 3 years. I've been here 45 years in the desert. So anyway, and when I was court reporting, her husband was on the city council. I don't know if you were mayor when I reported it. They wanted to put, I don't know if you remember this. I remember because I couldn't believe it. They wanted to put a gate in Indian Wells so that you couldn't drive down 111 unless you lived in Indian Wells. No. I was sitting there reporting going, what? Anyway, but obviously it didn't pass, but it did come before them. So anyway, I'm just so delighted to introduce to you and present to you the honorable, amazing, she was also co-pastor here for a while, I think with Reverend, and then up in Idlewild, but you were here too for a little bit, but you and Reverend Sheila were up in Idlewild, the CSL up there. So we're very honored and privileged, and please give a warm welcome to Reverend Patty Spicer.
Thank you. Lovely. Good morning. I am so delighted to be here and to be asked to share some ideas with you and see how well my little students are doing. Dr. Joe accused me of putting much too much many red marks on his papers. I think he turned out very well, and so does Dr. Laura. Have you ever imagined how it would be to function in total darkness? Have you ever felt a little uneasy during a power outage? We recently had one and had to readjust all the clocks again for a second time since daylight savings came on. It reminded me about an experience I had when I was serving as the interim pastor for Visalia Church. I was awakened about 4 a.m. and to shouting noises outside and police cars screeching up the street, and I peeked out the window, and peering into the darkness, I saw that the street had been blocked off at my end with flares and 3 squad cars at the other end. It looked like a TV police drama being played right in front of my house. I sent a blessing to whatever was going on, and I decided might as well start my day. And I automatically reached for the light switch. That's when I realized that there was no electrical power. The ramifications began to set in for me. It was Sunday morning. There was no light to apply my makeup. Now that's a biggie for me. Or select clothes in the closet. No electricity to read or to work the appliances in the kitchen or even open the garage door. How devastating it is to be suddenly out of power, out of light, in total darkness. And although I know that the law of electricity is always there, the interruption left me feeling powerless. I was not only guilty of taking it for granted that it would always be there, I had really been oblivious to that law that brought me enjoyment in my daily life. There's a story about the Sufi mullah Nasruddin being discovered by a neighbor down on his knees under a street lamp, as if the mullah was looking for something. The neighbor asked him if he had lost an item of importance, to which Nasruddin replied, "Why, yes, I've lost my house key." So the neighbor gets down on his hands and assists in the search. Finally, after no availability of any key, the neighbor said, "Where did you lose your key, Nasruddin?" And he said, "Well, I lost it in my house." And the neighbor said, "Well, why in the name of Allah are you looking here?" And Nasruddin matter-of-factly said, "Because there's more light." Nasruddin, in his whimsical way, has taught the same lesson masters and mystics down through the ages have always taught. The key is not outside, but within. The basic lesson in spiritual housekeeping may be suggesting that the occupants of the household often search in the wrong places for important and necessary elements for the upkeep. The word house in spiritual terminology often refers to consciousness. The key to spiritual understanding, growth, and power is at home. Many of us go outside and across the street to where there appears to be more light to do our looking. It's the illusion that there's something separate and apart from our spiritual household. I wonder, where do you look for God? My talk title today is Check the Glove Compartment. What do you keep in there? You may have your car registration, the car manual, the proof of insurance, maybe a flashlight, keys, maps. How many of you keep gloves in your glove compartment? No one. But these are items you may need in an emergency. Have you also stuck God in there with the idea you can always take it out in case of emergency? Is God tucked in there after each Sunday service and only brought out the following Sunday? Our Science of Mind teaching and Sunday messages continually remind us that God is all there is. And God is everywhere, equally present and always available. It's our link with all of life, and everything is of the same essence. It's impossible to compartmentalize our source when it's within and expressing through us, in us, as us. Once upon a time, a young fish asked an old fish, "Everyone talks about this thing called ocean. What the heck is it?" And the older and wiser fish answered, "The ocean is this thing that surrounds you on all sides." The younger fish didn't understand. "There's nothing around me. Why can I not see this ocean?" "Of course you cannot," said the old fish with patience. "The ocean is both inside and outside you. You were born in the ocean, and chances are you will die in the ocean. The ocean flows around you just as your own skin does." The master Confucius once said, "Fish forget that they live in water. People forget that they live in the Tao or God. We all live in the ocean of Zen, and it flows over us, is within us, and all around us. It enfolds us like our own skin, and yet we can't perceive it. Indeed, most of us have no idea what it is. I would like to suggest that we take out our God manual and become familiar with it. Proper maintenance of our spiritual awareness will keep our lives running smoothly. I've selected just 3 points from the operating instructions to share with you. The first point, check your true perspective level. Reverend Dr. Maria Pierce shared that St. Peter wanted to go to the Asilomar conference, and he needed someone to take his place at the pearly gates. Well, Jesus agreed to do that for him, and St. Peter said, well, you know, it's really easy. You just sit and greet them, and you ask them something about their lives, and then you send them on to the department to get their wings. Well, Jesus did this very well for about 3 days. And then one day, this weary old man came up, and Jesus encouraged him to tell him something about himself. And he said, well, I'm just an old man, but I had a very special child. There was no one in the world quite like him. He was born in a unique way. And even though there were holes in his hands and his feet, he made a great transformation. He's long gone now, but his spirit lives on forever, and his story is told all over the world. Jesus is standing up now, tears welling in his eyes, his arms outstretched, and he says, Father, it's been so long. And the old man squints up at him and looks and says, Pinocchio? We all see things in different ways. The old man was weary and partly blind and was looking for his son. Jesus was listening to the doing or practicing the presence, we are talking about living from the inside out, of going beyond manipulating the law in order to demonstrate what we feel we need at a given moment, to a higher level of spiritual awareness, in which we reveal the presence of God in all our affairs. Dr. Holmes says there's a power in the universe greater than you are, which you can use. Let's put it differently. There's a power in the universe greater than you are, which can use you. This power can use us as we yield ourselves to it by receptivity. There's a power in the universe greater than you are. We stop clinging to a God that can give us anything, even good, and we begin to understand God's true nature. I want to remind you, God is not Santa Claus. God has nothing to give us. Everything that God is, we already are. All that God has is already ours. The Bible says the kingdom is within. So it's time to start moving beyond demonstrating parking places with money in the meter, palaces, princesses, and princes, as we jokingly say in introductory science of mind classes, and start demonstrating God instead. Again, keep referring to your main operating instructions. Check your true perspective level. Keep altitude in your attitude. And 3, practice the presence for worry-free maintenance. It's time to live, breathe, and express your God self every moment. It's time to turn on your power and be a beacon of light. It's time to decide who is doing the driving in your life. Comedian Dave Barry says the one thing that unites all human beings, regardless of age, gender, religion, sex, or ethnic background, is that deep down inside, we all know that we are way above average drivers. So remember, God is both riding with you as the absolute backseat driver. And God is also in the driver's seat right with you. Talk about power steering. So please, check your glove compartment. If you have unconsciously put God in there for life's emergencies, you are missing out on the moment-by-moment incredible joy that could be yours. It's all God. It's all you. This is the moment. Begin now to start your journey. And may this journey always have the wind be at your back. And I wish you joyous and abundant blessings along your way. Thank you so much for being here today. Namaste.